Come on, everybody, let's start the show. A quick ahoy hoy and away we'll go. Richard's got a minifig and Flynn's got a pin. The gang's all here and it's time to begin. TrickyBricks roll call. Moto, Holly, Kara, and sometimes Blair, Clicky, Logan, Ms. Thing and Angela, and Thunderman Ho! Now you're here to grab your bricks and let's go to the TrickyBricks Build and Check Show! Ahoy, hoy, everybody! Everyone. How's it going? We are here today on Sunday. And
Sunday.
It's Pride Sunday.
It is.
Happy Pride, everybody!
We woke up this morning and, well, we didn't go to the parade, but we had a parade in our hearts, right?
We did. There's always a parade in my heart. You can tell I even shaved, or, well, didn't shave for the occasion.
You didn't? No, that's right. Because you were up all night preparing the float.
Exactly. So, gosh, we have an action-packed show today.
Oh wow, the sun's out.
Yeah, lots of great guests, and billions of bricks. How nice! Thank you so much. Wow, the Lego Studio sets. That's a long time. That was like over a year ago. Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I've got my
Flynn.
I have my
coffee cup,
like sort of rainbow brick Flynn coffee cup from Vicky Luttrell. I'm sporting this amazing Divine t-shirt that I got a while back. I am from Baltimore, so it's a touchdown for me. So that's my Pride t-shirt for today.
Wins the prize.
So I'm pretty happy with
what
that
was
choice.
What was the prize in that movie? The most?
What?
Not the most beautiful.
All right, let's move on. Anyway, so we've got we should probably
look it up.
We should probably invite our guests on for today. So first of all,
that's a Wikipedia moment right there.
It was something. Anyway,
what were you saying there, Flynn?
I'm trying to welcome people on and failing miserably. So,
all right.
Welcome to the stream, Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going today?
Good, great.
Welcome. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
It's a fun. I know a lot of people out having fun today. We used to go out every Pride, and now
we used to. Yeah, it was a big deal. We would get all dolled up.
Yeah. So,
and now for me, I don't know, wild and crazy. I'm sporting a pink plaid. Look at that. Very edgy.
Very edgy indeed.
I don't have enough of a Pride wardrobe. I did a thing for Pride Friday, and wore like my favorite Pride shirt. So it's in the laundry now. Oh well.
I ordered some stuff, and unfortunately, it will not arrive until after the show today. But I will wear it. I will wear the T-shirt next week because it's amazing, and I'm very excited about it. And speaking of getting dolled up,
I'm gonna change glasses. I can't see a thing.
Okay,
different ones.
Let's invite Minifig Chick. Hi, Minifig Chick. How's it going?
Hi. Good.
Awesome. We are sorry. The squeaky door, the coffin lid,
the crypt
was opening. And we've also got some other very special guests today who are going to be discussing this episode of Lego Masters with us, as well as we're going to have to talk a little bit about LegoCon, which happened yesterday, and all about that. I'm sure there will be some spicy takes given by one or two people. But first, let's welcome to the show our regular and also special guest for today, Moto. Hi, Moto.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Moto.
Hey, hello.
How's it going?
Hello.
Good to see you. And a very, very special guest. We have Moto's partner from Lego Masters. Paras is here. Hi, Paras.
Paras.
Ahoy,
Hi,
ahoy.
Paras.
I know that guy. I know that guy.
How awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Absolutely. And now to just to shake things up. Oh boy!
Oh, you really did shake things up.
There, we got him back now. He's ready to leave already. He's like,
I'm out.
He heard who the next guest was going to be. And he's like, I'm done.
That's
I'm
right.
done. No, I'm kidding. We have our regular special guest who's been coming. Let's see, we've had all these. We've had regular and special guest, and then we've had a very special guest, and now a regular special guest. It's internet sensation, Bricks O'Brien.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Hello.
Good Sunday, everybody. Hello.
How are you doing today?
I am caffeinated, energized, ready, and hydrated.
Okay, well,
Wow.
You sound
Sounds like
very
you're gonna have to go to the
prepared.
bathroom soon.
You sound very, very prepared. All right, so
I'm so distracted right now.
Why?
Sorry
What?
to interrupt you. I'm distracted by Paras's background of perfectly organized drawers. Look at all that.
Okay, Paras, I'm going to put you on the big screen, so don't be scared. We got to see this. Wow.
Look at that.
Oh,
Easy
wow.
access
So
front.
good.
That is practical.
Very cool.
You can see the bricks right through the front of them.
Very nice.
Cool.
So
Here we go.
while we're looking at your being distracted by your awesome Lego room,
Oh, that's a good build.
Yes.
very nice. So Paras,
Yes, my friend.
tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into the Lego hobby and how you ended up on Lego Masters.
Let's see. Thanks, Gina. So I started getting into Lego because of my little girl. She's 9 now, and I'm an engineer. And when she was really little, we used to just play all the time, and she loved playing with Lego. And I just found it to be such an engaging tool and just a fun way to play. And then a number of years later, I tell the story. I think, well, I don't know if it was shown, but when she was like not quite 4, she wanted to add lights to one of her Lego sets, and so I taught her some basic circuits and get her LED. She wanted to put LEDs into some of the Lego Friends sets, I think it was. And I just found it to be such a great way to teach about education and STEAM, and it just changed my life. So I started a little company. Now we use Lego for teaching STEAM education in many schools in Connecticut.
That's so cool.
That's awesome. I have my own experience doing that as well. So I am in solidarity on that one. I'm so and I just started teaching classes again myself. So it's been I don't know how it was for you coming back after lockdown, but just the I really missed that in-person energy of the kids and like their excitement about the hobby, and it's all new to them. It's just such a fascinating way to approach the hobby with kids, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of parents go through this, but when you have a child, at least for me, it was just so earth-shaking, and it just changed my perspective of everything. I just stopped really caring about all the accolades that I wanted to achieve for myself, and all the countries I wanted to go to, and all these things. It just kind of became about her, and so the kids for all my teachers and me are just sustaining. So COVID's been really, really tough for everyone in education for sure, and especially for like a little nonprofit for us. I committed to making it through, and then I got a call from Lego Masters back in December, and this has been fantastic. So I'm hoping we'll ride out of it. Hopefully the fall will be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's so awesome. What a great way. It's interesting. I've heard so many, it's funny. We get so used to being wrapped up in the AFOL community that we forget that sometimes the AFOLs are created because their kids got them into it, right?
Absolutely.
And now we have I don't know. Now we have sets being aimed at adults, right? And they're trying to like bring in that adult market even more. But one of the things that we've always strived for here, and I think have done on some level at least, is getting families to build together has been one of the greatest parts for me of doing our Friday slideshows, our build challenges, is seeing, we have whole families and they all turn in separate stuff, or sometimes they turn them in together. And it's just such a fun way to there like that.
Yeah, I love that you guys do that. I try to participate as much as I can. And, at my nonprofit's called Next Gen Smarty Pants. And we had, like, for Father's Day, we had a lot of father-son, father-daughter type of programs. We often will we have a lot of adults that take our classes. And I remember, like, I think it was last summer that we had this couple that they were empty nesters, and their kids were grown. And they came in and celebrated their 25th anniversary and built robotics and engineering using Lego for like 3 days. It was just fantastic. So we get a lot of that too. And it's just like you're saying, it's just such an accessible product. And you can create anything you want with it. You can, just express your own creativity. And I can't say enough good things about Lego. And we use it for at least 80-something% of our programs for the last 5 years or whatnot. So it's fantastic.
That's so funny. Something I hadn't really thought of much before. I'm trying to teach myself how to do suspensions, independent suspensions, and different elements of drivable vehicles. And I feel like, there's all these kids who are, in 5th grade who know how to do this, and they're doing it in school. And I feel a little foolish, but at the same time, I think those lessons about mechanics and physics and propulsion and balance and all of that are as applicable to kids as they are to adults. If you're learning it for the first time, it's, simple machines are amazing as adults too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way we teach is, we really try to let the child lead and try to help them achieve, their goals. So like I talked about with my daughter, obviously, she didn't know how to do soldering. She didn't know how to do circuits, and she certainly didn't know multiplication at the age of 4. But she learned whatever she needed to learn to get to where she wanted to be. So that self-motivation, intrinsic self-motivation was there. She had the curiosity. And so for my role as a dad and as an engineer was really to just sort of guide her on getting to her goal. And we use that a lot. I train all my teachers to use that methodology. And all the school systems that we work with, we've had about almost 4,000 kids come through our programs now in Connecticut. And all the school systems we work with, we really integrate with their curricula so that when they're teaching, division, we're teaching about gear ratios, for example. So we really try to get them to apply the math skills,
That's awesome.
Hey, Mom, why do I need to learn this, and just to answer that question. And they're just so curious. They need to use their hands and they want to learn. And actually, Flynn, just to embarrass you a little bit more, Flynn, we have a really super great class called Junior Engineers from 4 to 6 years old, 4 to 7 years old. And they're using the large format gears and pulleys and stuff. I can't tell you how many parents have come back saying, hey, my kid came home and he asked me how much torque my car has. And I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, wow.
I've definitely had that. I've actually had recently some parents come and sit in with their kids and like actually take the class with the kid.
Yeah,
which was cool because they were into Lego building, but not necessarily like how to build a gear train, how to gear something up or down. And I think they got a lot out of that. So.
I'm curious for other members of the panel, are there science or other kinds of like STEAM, STEMmy things that you've had to learn to accomplish what you've done for your mocks?
Well, we at Bricks by the Bay this last weekend, there was a whole workshop for the kids about building a mech.
Oh.
And I don't build mechs, so I totally sat in on it and I learned a heck of a lot.
Sorry, Blair.
And I will be applying that. Hey, Blair.
Hi, Blair.
Howdy.
Hi, Blair.
I was just working on my hat.
Nice.
Oh, very good. Very good. We were talking about
Nice hat.
oh yeah, speaking of hats.
Oh, that's great.
Today.
Giving a little
Monster.
rainbow action.
You know,
Very
Blair,
nice.
hat's incredible. Good job.
So how does he come up with them, folks? So we were talking about using STEM or STEAM related stuff in your mocks, and have you done that? And you, Cara was just saying that she had taken a class this weekend that was meant for kids, but it like taught her some stuff she hadn't done. Have you explored anything like that along with your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the boost system, and then we've built a couple things out of Mindstorms. I was working on learning the Mindstorms better to apply them to doing the same stuff that Paras actually does, which is leading STEM and Lego education programs, hopefully again very soon, and taking it to another level. But yeah, it's incredible how easy it is for the kids to pick up on new stuff like that. And it's just wild because I grew up on Generation 1 Mindstorms, and things have changed quite a bit. I mean, there have been 4 iterations since then. So I feel like I'm constantly doing catch up, but anytime you put them in front of the kids, they're just scooping it all up, like they absorb it so quickly. But I mean, for my own mocks, I've only just started getting into motorization, and I'd say that the biggest accomplishment was probably for my wearable, getting the articulated wings to open and close. And just like on the show, I mean, it sometimes seems great in theory and in practice, maybe at home, but you show up for the convention or whatever, and you're like, one thing's working and the other one's not, and gears are slipping, and, you try and show it for the nth time, and it's just no longer working.
Oh,
So-
yeah, we went through
sound,
that.
that sound of gear slippage is traumatic for me. In the convention, as people are going by and you hear cack, 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 cack.
Oh my goodness. So Brian, do you and baby Pikachu, get to, have times where you're building Technic sets or Steam things together?
You really tried to get that transition with the baby Pikachu. I that's a commendable effort there.
I tried, yeah.
No,
No one who didn't see the show the other day will understand that, but anyone who did will think it's mildly humorous.
Well, baby Pikachu might come back. We'll see. But no, so most of my builds are admittedly pretty static, so I have to get better about implementing motion in whatever way I can. I have a lot of ideas about how different systems work, but in terms of implementing them on the fly with what I got, I'm like, like if I have the instructions, I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But otherwise, no, I struggle a lot. So maybe I can take a class by this guy up here because he's local to me. So that.
Oh, that's awesome! I would love to see that. I want photos.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
want photos of Brian sitting on the floor with the kids all around in rapt attention.
All crisscross applesauce on the floor, exchanging.
We're hiring teachers, by the way, if you want.
Circle round, kids.
Really?
Uncle
nice.
Saviano has a story about gearing reduction.
So, Moto, what about you and your son?
Oh yeah, really often, all the time. I don't know when I'm not using some sort of engineering principle in the stuff that we build. But yeah, mostly I would say not motion. I'm really, really good at the structural engineering side of things. That's really where I fundamentally got trained and understood the pattern of things as well as aerodynamics. So, I'm mostly just pushing structures to the limit of how high or how wide they can go, not really motorizing them or lighting them.
Well, that was evident in your swooshable egg. I saw that footage again.
Yeah, that's one of them.
So speaking of swooshable and speaking of things made for kids,
You really trying with
Where's
the
he going?
transition?
Where's he going with this?
I can't wait.
I thought you would. I thought you would appreciate that, Brian.
I did.
That was for you.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was less a segue and more of a dump truck.
Where were you headed there?
Is this coming from a galaxy far, far away?
Well, I mean, tangentially, yes.
Okay.
So, LegoCon. It happened yesterday, and as anybody who watched would know, or hope if you watched in the first 20 minutes anyway, you saw Richard and I filmed a segment for it, and it was really cool to see it all edited together and done like with the fancy graphics. And I gotta say, seeing footage of Snake Queen on the screen with the Lego logo in the corner, like suddenly just made everything seem legit. I don't know why, but like it just really was like, it was really exciting. I was thrilled to see that they used a little bit of Yano's animation of our sig figs, which is cool. Yeah. And we got to educate in our segment, which I was really excited about. Now, there are lots and lots of takes on the interwebs right now about the event. And so, I think we can't not talk about it. It was yesterday and we were involved. So I told Brian, we have to talk about it no matter what your hot takes are. But of course, everybody's going to have a different take on it, 100%. And some are going to come from, I'm just going to say this from straight up, and I think I mentioned this whenever we talked about it. It was meant to be aimed at 7 to 12-year-olds. That was the and I got to say that when I was watching it, and for any of you old folks out there, you may remember this. Back in the day when cartoons were on all day Saturday, like that's what you did on Saturday. You sat with a big old bowl of sugar cereal and watched cartoons all day long until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when your mom finally like yelled at you to go outside and play outside. So, and back in the 70s, and maybe they did some in the 80s, but they used to do these Saturday preview shows. So when the new season of cartoons would come out, they would do a whole show on Friday night that was like, here's all the awesome shows that you're going to start to see, tomorrow on Saturday is going to be amazing. And they did a whole like show dedicated to it. And it gave me, like watching it yesterday gave me that feeling, like that little kid feeling that I used to get when I watched those shows. And I know that there's a lot of ideas from the AFOL community about what it should have or could have been. And so, yeah, that's what I'll say. So I would just love to, and we don't need to dwell on this because we do need to get to the discussing the Lego Masters episode. But I think that we have a wide range of like people with opinions here, just because I know everybody's going to see this slightly differently, like as parents, as AFOLs, as educators, what you thought of it. So
here, I'll start off with a quick uncontroversial one.
Okay.
I think it's uncontroversial.
This is called a warm take.
I love the massive collaboration Dots Mosaic. I think that's such a great idea, and to have people be able to send their ideas in and see it starting to come together on that huge wall and know that their idea is going to be, in the Lego house, I think is just so fun.
Yeah. So Holly, let's just go around the horn here. Holly, what did you think, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, you and I were pretty much watching it together the whole time, so. Yeah. You got all of my like on the fly commentary, but we were having a good time watching it. And I even anecdotally added, like I had a friend that was watching it with his son. Like my friend is not an AFOL, but his son's a huge Lego fan. So he was sending me messages. Like I hate to admit, I almost forgot about it. Like, except that he messaged me and was like, oh, are you watching this? I was like, right. Just because it was early for us. So I jumped on and he was like sending me pictures of his kid exactly as Flynn described, just like laid out on the floor in front of the TV with like a big old bucket of Lego like right in front of him, just playing while he was watching it, and he was reporting back to me that he was inspired. He was excited for the Star Wars release. Like it was for that kid, and I was enjoying that he was enjoying it. So it was fun. I thought it was a really well run production.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of glitches, but I think that was to be expected at this, at this point. And
I almost wonder if they didn't. I almost wonder if they didn't do that on purpose, just because it's like such an ongoing joke at this point that like we would have been disappointed if there hadn't have been.
I would have been disappointed to not to get to complain about that. So, Kara, did you end up watching? I know you hadn't watched it when we first talked.
Yeah, it was too early in the morning for me. I mean, 9:00 on a Saturday. Come on. But I did watch the pre-show stuff, which I thought was great and interesting. And that helped broad interest. And I watched bits and I just sort of skimmed through the rest of it. I thought it was geared very well towards the audience that they were gearing it towards.
Right.
It's a roundabout way of saying it. So, I mean, as an AFOL, I expected kind of nothing less from Lego because their focus is all about the kids. And when they do anything for adults, they call it out, right? Like the adult line. So, I didn't expect this to be of great interest to me, but I enjoyed the bits that I watched. And yeah, the quilt thing is amazing.
And so Paras, did you get a chance to watch?
Yeah, my daughter and I watched a little bit too. But I mean, I really liked the reveals. That was really cool. And the interviews and stuff. So yeah, absolutely. We had a really beautiful sunny day yesterday. I think Brian did. So we definitely had to go take advantage of the sun. But
absolutely,
you're inside, sure.
Well, and then, fortunately it will be up on their website to watch anytime. And I know they're going to be releasing, from what I understand, edited versions of the AFOL portion of it. And I think they're going to just that's going to be its own separate video that they're going to offer up for people to look at and stuff like that too. So Blair, did you get a chance to watch?
Yeah, it was kind of early. So by the time I realized it was happening, it was already happening. And then I was like, oh, right, this thing's happening. And it didn't work on my phone. So then I got on the laptop and I was intrigued. It definitely felt like sort of what BlizzCon has become, the digital version of BlizzCon, but pared down for the shorter attention span and the shorter demographic lifespan and height wise. And it was sweet. It was really cute. Like, I think that some of the segments were more interesting than maybe the Lego set that they were revealing. Cough, big gray chunk of Star Wars cough. But I think that it was really well done, and there weren't a lot of things that were surprising to me. Again, cough, giant chunk of gray Star Wars ship. But the rest of it, it had a good heart, and I love that it's in the Lego house. I love that they had guests and interviews with designers and giving those people a spotlight that's not a designer video geared towards adults, letting them really talk to the target audience is really awesome. So hope that I get to do that someday. I think it's just such a fun thing that they decided to do, and it can be an ongoing thing because not everybody can make it to Denmark. And if they make it an annual thing, that I think that they'll improve upon it, by loads by next year even.
Absolutely.
You remind me of the interview with the astronaut.
Oh, that was so cool.
And I have to wonder, did he assemble all of those pieces? Did he find every single one in that chamber and assemble them all?
I know.
That would be so hard.
So Moto, don't worry, Brian, we're almost there. Go ahead, Moto. What did you get a chance to watch?
No, I didn't. I didn't have a chance to watch it. But I was doing estate sales with small art director. but I am going to watch it later. I'm looking forward to maybe seeing the Republic gunship introduced. I'm looking forward to some Technic vehicles showing off the new Cybertruck build and racing against that with Elon Musk. I'm looking forward, to seeing it as a whole.
Very good.
Moto's in some alternate reality timeline.
I know.
Jeez,
He put the time traveling lab coat on, and
he's a variance, just like from Loki. He's just
there. You go.
He hit 88 bricks per hour.
Well, I noticed Paras has the clicky that was actually on the show, my blue clicky that we swapped.
Oh, that's awesome!
And because we weren't doing pins, it seemed I had to at least grab the lab coat and throw it on.
All right,
hey, Brian, how about you? Because you watched it, I haven't.
Brian's been so patient, and I know he has feelings. So please do share your feelings.
Thank you for passing the stick to me. I'll share my feelings around the campfire. So, a comment that was made by Monica a while ago in the chat here says, I think if they marketed it more as a promotional event rather than a con, it would be fine. And I wholeheartedly agree with that idea. So when I think of a convention, I'm thinking more, to do a digital convention, a showcase, it's difficult in general to pull off, right? And this is Lego's first outing doing something like this. And as someone who has watched a lot of PlayStation digital events, Nintendo, things like BlizzCon, E3, you name it, there's a certain way that you can go about presenting information that makes it feel less like an advertisement, which all of these shows, that's all they are. They're meant to advertise to you the newest this and that and that and that. But there's a way that you can go about it that is respectful to the audience, regardless of age or interest level. And a lot of these felt like segments that could clearly go onto the YouTube channel as their own 30-second advertisement. The Technic vehicle, the Lamborghini, this thing and that thing. But you have really fun elements in there. I can't take credit for that one. But that's what I've heard that phrase before. So you had really fun segments like the interview with the astronaut, you guys doing the demonstration of, this is how a little bit of Technic can bring life to your build. Like, those aspects are fantastic. And there's little nuggets of that all throughout this entire presentation. But there's also something to the flow of how all of it should go, especially if you're aiming it towards specifically kids, which I knew that's exactly what it should be. A lot of the events that I watch are geared toward a younger audience as well. So I know my level of, I don't want to say expectations, because as I said to you on Twitter earlier, Flynn, there's a difference between expectations and standards. And the standard for a lot of these events is a certain flow that can go to it. And I thought, this is a feeling I've had for a while. Lego does a very poor job at announcing and hyping up their products, where a lot of the stuff that we find out about as fans, we find out via a blog post rather than it being this, hey, this time, this place, this thing, here we go. Like, come on, everybody, let's make a big thing. That's why you have like a Nintendo Direct. Tune in at this time, bam, 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 bam. Here's all this information. Here's a designer interview. Here's a behind the scenes and a blah, 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 blah. Lego has enough hype behind the product to make that actually happen, regardless if it's a Star Wars gray light cruiser ship that we've gotten 16 trillion of before, if it's a video set, if it's a whatever, they need to hype up the product more. And I had no expectations of a 3,000 piece Star Wars gunship appearing made for 18-year-olds. I'm not one of those people, all right? I knew there being the Lego Super Mario on the docket. I wasn't expecting a new Luigi set. My expectations in that regard were tame, but my expectation was more so in the flow of the show and how they presented the information, and it felt a lot like advertising, and less of behind the scenes about what you see going on in Denmark, where I think one of the when they talked about Lego Friends, right, and taking questions from the audience, which were they actually taken from the audience at a certain point? They didn't really feel like it. But one of the questions was like, what would you like to see happen for Lego Friends next? Because it was a cool little segment taken through the day of, whatever they're doing. And the answers were, okay, skiing, which is, they already did that. Sure, great. But then the other answer was, well, we have a lot of ideas here at Lego Friends, but we can't talk about anything right now. So we'll just have to wait and see. You can do like some other answer than that. Like just something else to like insinuate just a little, like just something like answer genuinely rather than it being from, the higher, like that's like a
The
PR
corporate
sort of
answer.
answer.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of me asking these guys who won Lego Masters. Like, they're not going to tell me, right? So, like, just something more genuine, I would have appreciated more. And I feel like kids would have appreciated more. So,
Well, I see your points. No, I think that there are a lot of legitimate negative and positives about the show, for sure. I mean, there were certainly some places I think where I know, Brian, you and I talked about, it was like, and I think we did too, Holly. He was like, all right, this is awesome. Let's go.
it was so, I'm like, on my live stream, I'm like, can we get some clapping in the chat? We got to raise the energy here. Come on. Like,
well, I do. Like, even I have a button here that has applause.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I understand it was live and it was their first, and to me that was just kind of like goofy more than like, come on, man. But I thought it was, it did hurt. It did hit a little like, ooh, but I gotta say I enjoyed it and I thought it was fun. And going back to kind of like what Holly brought up at the very beginning is that, and I saw lots of what Holly was talking about. Her friend was sending her pictures of kids sitting in front of it, kids who don't scour the internet for the latest bit of Lego news, kids who aren't on the leaks sites and are going to be bored by what they saw because they already saw a blurry photo of it 2 weeks ago on somebody's like Twitter feed.
Well, okay, so what I'll say in contrast to that, though, if you look at a lot of the creators that were co-streaming this, I'm not even saying myself, but other people, there's thousands of people that are watching it being co-streamed, and those other creators kind of, I don't want to say form the narrative, but like if they're not into it, if the information isn't presented, like that Star Wars gray ship light cruiser, like the designer or someone was like, this is a very iconic Lego Star Wars. It's like, no. So like if there was something else that was presented in a more just hype this up, like elevate the whole thing, like kids will appreciate that and adult fans can appreciate that too.
Sure. I can, and again, I'll say, I think it was their first time out, and for a first time out go, like, I mean, look at season 1 of Lego Masters compared to season 2. Like, you learn from your mistakes, like, and I think that's okay. And I'm going to give them, I'm giving them a little bit of extra room to grow on this one. But I do hope that they take into account, the legitimate complaints or things that people would like to see fixed about it.
Constructive criticism.
There you go. Constructive criticism. Very good, Blair. We are big fans of constructive criticism here on the TrickyBricks Build and Chat.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta say, I've been to a lot of cons that feel purely commercial. I mean, Comic-Con is a very commercial con, and I get what you're saying, Brian, but I still don't like. I think that's probably, like, to me, in my opinion, I feel like they were almost taking too many notes, trying to be like other cons, like where they're really trying to hype things, and it didn't feel like, some of it was really enjoyable to me, and some of it didn't feel very authentic. And
so what do you feel like was the most hype thing to come out of it?
Oh, I mean, just, it's more like what was the guy, the pre-show host that was kind of like trying to hype like all like between the segments, that was just a little like over the top.
He had a hard road to hoe. I mean, he didn't. He was playing to a camera rather than an audience. And
I know, but I mean, just kind of
commendable amount of energy. I just didn't feel like it was.
But the hosts in general didn't vibe with me like they were like real Lego fans. Like they were hired, actors essentially, and there's just some stuff that was kind of like the way that things were.
Well, the guy,
I guess
Mel,
on a score of 1 to Steve Jobs' Apple release, where did it fall?
Well, Melvin, the host, was the host of Lego Masters UK, so it's not like he doesn't know what he's talking about.
And so, okay, part of my issue with like the flow, right? There was a point where Melvin was talking to one of the people with the sustainability thing, right? Mm-hmm. And he said like, oh, these pieces are made out of plants. Like, this is really cool. And then Melvin's like, oh, so I can eat these. And then the guy, instead of being like, no, don't, he just kind of like, anyways, here's our sustainability plan. Like, play along with it. It's called improv. Like,
and also a good time to tell people not to eat Lego bricks.
I had to tell my cat, don't eat plastic, kids. Like, why am I the one saying this?
Yeah. Although I have to say, last year there was actually a publication in a pediatric medical journal where a group of pediatricians swallowed minifig heads.
Oh yes,
and it figured out how long it took them to pass through. This was a scientific journal publication. It was hysterical.
Look at his reaction. He's like,
yeah.
Yeah, Paras is like, oh, I should have just stayed gone when I left. All right. Well, moving. I'll say that. For my part, for our part, I was super honored to be a part of it, and so
you guys did great.
Thank you, and just so glad that that we were able to, that we were able to do that. And we got asked to do that. I think it was like really exciting. And if you haven't done it already, you should definitely consider, if they're not full already, doing the little dots tile to put on the wall at the Lego house. That seems like a really cool, fun project. So
Kelly too, right?
Kat. Yes, our friend Kat was also. You saw Kat there.
Well, Kelly was on there too, because Kat.
That's right.
Showing photos of her. So.
And then there was, and also my friend Anna, who's the photographer. She runs Brick Central, the Instagram things. It was great to see her up there too. So lots of cool folks. And the guy who did the piano, that was really. And you know what I noticed is it made me think about like art and themes, is like Steve Guinness, who did the typewriter, and then the guy that did the piano, both were like super into the thing and built like tons of iterations of it, like had made they had both built tons of the, guy made tons of typewriters, this guy made tons of pianos, and like how I often feel when I'm making mocks, like I can't do something I've already done before. And I think there's something to just like a recipe, like I used to do when I was cooking a lot more, but doing that same recipe over and over and over again until you really sort of perfect it. All right. Well,
I wanted to say, if I'm looking down today during the show, I'm totally checked in. I'm just actually making progress, in our studio and taking apart old mocks.
The mock that we showed yesterday of Logan jumping on the tree.
So good.
I'm working on the typewriter.
And speaking of Logan, it happens to be time for the pause that refreshes. That's right, everybody. It's Logan cookie time.
Here, pal.
Up here. Wow, he was taking a long.
He was lounging.
Oh my goodness, he's trying to eat it off the table. We got to move him back.
And she's in full on Muppet mode.
Right on. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, Logan.
Say hi to everyone. Yes. Good boy.
And here's another one. You gonna catch this one? Here we go. Oh, that's a terrible throw. It's like taking a selfie. It's really hard.
Did you not?
But he got it. He got it. Skittles is here. Hi, Skittles. Wow, it is all the cookie times. It is Rainbow Dragons all time. I love those wings. Are those paper?
Yeah, my daughter wanted to get in on the rainbow action while I was building mine. And so I took a break and helped her remod the queen dragon wings and make some paper ones. So
Very nice.
Wow, they're
Love
great.
Very nice. Splishy and Splashy are here to join in the fun. Always good to see them. We really need to get Splishy on a dentist appointment at some point. And Brian. And Brian has Baby Not Pikachu for Baby Not Pikachu cookie time.
It's Eevee.
Is that what? A who?
Eevee.
Evie. There you go. Oh, very sweet. And that, everybody, is Logan cookie time. Poor Paras. What have you gotten yourself into? I don't know.
I'm enjoying it actually too. So.
Awesome. Okay, so it's time for the main event, friends. It is time for our breakdown of season 2, episode 4 of Lego Masters. Hats Incredible. How do they come up with them?
Hats off to the writers.
Hats off to the writers. Well, I mean, I am no one to talk about terrible puns at this point in.
We're brimming with excitement. I could do this all day.
By terrible, I think you mean wonderful.
Yes. Okay, so I think the best way to do this is, because of the way it was edited, is just to kind of talk about the pieces as they were being judged. And I still have not received permission from Fox to share photos on the stream. I did reach out to them. I have asked. And I don't know what it is. I think it's okay for like websites to post them, but something about broadcasting and video, and I don't know. But
we're trying.
We're doing our best. What I can tell you to do is go on to Hulu, have it up, and scrub it if you want to see them while we're talking about it. Or you know what we should do is we just post the pictures to our website and be like, just go to our website and look along. There we go. See, sometimes it takes a few episodes, Brian, before we get everything perfectly right.
Innovation.
Well, yes, but you're also not a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
As far as we know.
We're secretly
We're a $1 billion company.
Patreon.com/TrickyBricks.
You're like 1/10 of a billion yen company.
There you go. All right. So here we go. I've got
let's get cozy.
That's a thing? Oh yeah, you know what? I realized we didn't show our pins today.
Oh.
And but I don't want to break this up. So it's if we do one episode without,
there's a bunch
fine.
of teams, right? We can do some.
So okay, so starting off in order of the judging, Mark and Steven. Oh, so we should talk about actually what the challenge was. Mm-hmm. So the challenge was to build a wearable hat. Blair, I know you know nothing of this. To build a wearable hat that could not only walk down the runway but sit on its own held up for 5 seconds. And there were some really amazing models. And
well, there were some additional criteria too that they didn't.
I was going to say, I think Moto knows some.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, so can you tell us what were some additional things that maybe we didn't? Because we know for sure when we did ours, there were always rules that didn't quite make it to air. So what can you tell us?
Yeah, it was, I believe, 2 feet or 60 studs off the top of your crown. And then it had to be 100 studs or 1 ship length in any direction required.
Really?
And then, yeah, absolutely. That's why there was always height and always width.
Yeah.
And then there was a twist introduced where you had to build an accessory to complement the hat.
They didn't show any of that.
No, they didn't.
No. We did see a bunch of accessories.
We saw the accessories, but we didn't know that was part of the criteria.
Yeah, it was a twist.
Yeah. I assumed it was. Oh, they did a twist and they didn't even show the twist?
Yeah, they dumped the twist.
Horrible.
Mm-hmm.
All the
Horrible.
accessories that everybody had was a twist.
Well, because I figured they must have required it because everybody had one, and I thought that was odd. But wow,
No, it was introduced after the fact as a twist challenge.
Yeah,
I'm going to
just
take
didn't
a wild
edit it.
guess on another rule here, and that is that you couldn't have any support below your chin, because the first thing I thought,
correct.
is,
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
couldn't
want
build like a
support on my
Centurion helmet
shoulder.
and wrap
Yeah,
your
you're right.
neck around and all that stuff.
Yeah,
No,
you
it had to be
couldn't-
freestanding. Yeah, it had to be freestanding on your head.
It had to be a bona fide.
Hmm.
wow.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
weren't looking for helmets; they were looking for hats.
Well, these
And
are
no bonnets either, apparently.
no bonnets.
I know.
But was it really so necessary that we had to have 5 minutes of like a Will Arnett fashion show at the beginning that that was so important that they had to edit out like half of the challenge criteria?
Well,
I don't know.
and then
I'm not the
long
editor.
phone
It's
call
just
sketch.
annoying.
I can tell you when we walked in and we saw Will doing that stuff, we were on the floor laughing. It was awesome.
It was good. It was hilarious, especially Jamie's entrance. But we can talk about
Yeah,
that. too.
Jamie and Amy looked fantastic.
Well, so I think that's interesting too, because as much as stuff like that is for, obviously for the audience, I felt like when things like that happened on our season, it was a great tension breaker. Because you really are so just like, no matter how excited you are, no matter how ready you feel or not ready you feel, you are like, there's this tension, this this energy that like kind of crackles throughout every episode, especially at the very beginning. That I found it helped break the tension. What about you, Paras?
Oh yeah, I mean, I liked Will. Will was great. I'm a fan of Will Arnett from Arrested Development and everything else. So, and of course Amy and Jamie as well. I think they just was it Moto? Were you telling me? Somebody was telling me that I think some folks from last season provided the advice to create the show, and I think they just did a fantastic job of planning it.
It was a suggested challenge that arose, I think, from season 1 cast members. So, to have that flow through to season 2 was amazing. I thought that was amazing.
Well,
And
we
it was
almost had
heavily
one.
expected as well.
Yeah, we almost had a wearables. They were considering doing it for our season, and then it didn't happen. So just and actually, that's real quick. I'd like to go around and find out everybody's quick take on what do you think about the balance of builds to shtick, Brian?
Builds to shtick? You mean like them covering it in the show?
Yes, and like the phone call to 911 and like the whole thing.
Out of context, they're calling 911 on set. What? No, but the show is definitely geared not toward Lego fans that want to see a Lego building competition show. This is for Ray and Deborah in Middle America who want to see the Lego on the TV and, oh, look what they can build, just like with the cakes being constructed in these various cake shows too. So I think those things help make it more relatable for general audiences as opposed to getting too in the weeds and nerdy, quote unquote, for Lego stuff, which we appreciate, but general audiences, maybe they're like, eh.
So what you're saying is maybe it wasn't made for us.
If I may, I think if we look at the production crew, those guys are professionals at reality shows.
Yeah.
And if you look at like Australia, I'm a big fan of the Australia Lego Masters, by the way. I think they do a fantastic job. Really, talking about the story, the builds, and all the rest. And I don't know. I think it would have been nice to have a little bit more of that. If you're going to attract, I mean, I'm proud to be a nerd. I'm okay with it. So, if you're going to attract people like me to watch it, I think it would have been helpful to have more of that. For sure.
You also got to figure with a show like this going into it, Fox is like, okay, we need to have X amount of Will Arnett or X amount of, hey, we're going to cross promo this thing because it needs a little boost, So like shoehorning those things is never going to be easy. And there's only so much you can integrate that naturally before it's like, okay, clearly this is a bit to promote this other thing, which is why we're calling 911 right now. All right, cool.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's talk about these.
About
Jamie and Amy's entrance. That I had to say I laughed so hard to see that Jamie could not get out of his outfit fast enough, and at least in the editing, and Amy was just like, I am in this, and I am going to work it for the entire episode.
Yeah.
And I just had to laugh.
Amy.
Like they went from his sort of like I don't know, flashy look to just his regular clothes, but he still had like the swoopy Tintin hair like in the front. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Well, I enjoyed it because, there was a lot of commentary in season 1, how the judges were really standoffish or stale or boring or, insert your term there, basically Danish. But to have them dress up and get out there and really have fun with something and really work it, I thought was a great addition.
Yeah.
To kind of reset that tone.
Yeah, Jamie was definitely having a lot of fun with it. It might have been a factor of editing that, as you're saying, picking off those costumes as soon as possible. But he looked fantastic, and I even told him that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a meme out there of him with that.
Yeah. I know. I wanted to see the fingerless gloves for the entire episode. I was a little disappointed not to have that been a part of the thing. All right, so
I won't disclose who it is, but we were watching that episode with somebody who has a huge crush on Jamie, and they lost their mind. So that was amusing.
Nice. All right, so now let's go to. We're gonna just like I said, we're gonna kind of look at them in order in which they were that they went on the judge line. So the first up was Mark and Steven with the Admiral pirate hat.
It's called Bicorn or something. But yeah, that thing was amazing.
Bicorn.
Yeah, a bicorn, exactly. It was amazing. The mosaic work on the sides of it was fantastic. Yeah. I thought the shaping was really great. Kara, what did you think about this one?
Oh, that was definitely one of my favorites. I thought they did such a great job. It looked so good. It was really well balanced on the head, which is hard to do, obviously.
Was this the hands-free walk?
No, that was Zack and Wayne.
Got it.
No, it was wobbly. It was wobbling.
It was, but it was, and visually just outstanding.
Yeah, it was. Blair, what do you think as a Lego hat guy?
I love that one. I mean, I thought it had so much class. It really felt like, I don't know, it was such a homogenous build. Like it just worked perfectly structurally, shape-wise, and then with the scenes on the sides. I mean, they knocked it out of the park with that one. It was something I wasn't expecting to see either, because it felt like it was both a mixture of an art piece and a hat, in that it incorporated the two elements so seamlessly. I thought that was fantastic. Definitely a favorite.
Well, now what was interesting about this is that every team was assigned a color, right? Y'all. So what was that like? So I know that they got brown.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, boys, when I heard you say tan, and I just had total flashbacks of Boone and Mark with a half a laptop, it was that kind of moment. So, and actually, interesting segue. Wow, I am just knocking them out of the park today.
Wow.
Moto and Paras are the next ones up on for the judges. So, what was that moment like? Just like when you open that bag and it was tan. Where did your mind go first, Paras?
So what they did was they randomized the choosing of the color quite a bit beforehand. It might have been it definitely wasn't at that time. I think it was much earlier, and we had no idea what that was all about at the time. So they definitely took a lot of regards, and by making things public, by, for example, the selection of the color. public meaning not just in some back room. It was really all of the entire cast that was all together.
Right.
Picking these colors, etc. So we obviously just got the tan one. I think everybody was universally less than excited about the clothes. The shoes in particular, I think, but not that the shoes were ridiculous. So there was a lot of opportunity to really focus on the hat as opposed to the wearing.
Right, of course. Well, tan clothes are so fashionable.
I looked at it like Anakin Skywalker looks at sand. That's how I saw it.
Can you elaborate on it?
It was like it gets in everything. It was not my thing, dude. I did not know what to do with the color tan. I think it was like, man, are we gonna build a sandcastle? Are we gonna? I mean, there was a number of yeah, I know, but they don't want to see a mock on your head. That's the thing. It's like we don't want to see just a mock on your head. It has to be a hat.
Yeah.
So trying to match tan.
Yeah.
It took us a while to come up with with the Safari Explorer thing, but once we had it, that was like, oh, that's a great idea. And then it was kind of like, how do you build that? But yeah, getting there was tough.
I felt like you treated, especially in the brim, I felt like you treated tan as a textile. Like the actual, like the main hat structure was out of this tan material that to me was almost somewhere between leather and straw. And the decorations and the theming of the hat were where you got the pop colors, to accent that with.
Well, and
Pars did a huge, invented like a mixel mesh that went around the brim of the hat, and that's what gave it. It was literally Lego fabric, yeah.
Well, I think that was and something Richard pointed out when we were watching it is I think y'all were the only ones to do a sweeping, or, like a curved brim. Everybody else did very straight out to the sides, and I'm
brick built.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it now, and I really do appreciate that straw hat quality of the because straw hats always have those those ends that stick out really. And I know that those meshes also take a lot of time to build. They are.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Well, can you talk a little bit about how you reinforced the mesh? When we were making the skin of the mountain for Snake Queen, we found that we really had to do a lot of reinforcement with plates, and that made it heavier and thicker.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think back now. So you're absolutely correct. I would think it was largely 2x4 plates with mixel ball joints, and and that did give a nice waviness and lots of infinite flexibility. But you also need some rigidity, and so what I did was I used a number of axles and to get some cross. How do I describe it? So use some axles to try and bring the two sides together, figuring it would come up. And that really helped with a lot of the rigidity for that. There was also the base helmet part that also helped, and we kind of tapped into that.
Yeah, we got really lucky in that the Lego math just happened to work out when we were placing it on the hat. That the mixel gaps and the stud lengths don't exactly match.
Mm-hmm.
So we were basically pre-stressing the ball joints into place under the brim in order to force the curvature. Yeah. And that was just a matter of running out of time and being very fortunate to get it studded down. Yeah. It worked out beautifully. Yeah. Bit of a stroke of luck. So
now, unfortunately, you had the Aaron and Christian moment.
Yes, we did.
One of them. Now, how I don't know. I mean, I appreciate you both here talking about this. I know that when we were just on TalkBricks Masters this last week, talking with Michael about the episode, and I know that in that moment when they showed y'all backstage, and it was not. I felt so much for you in that moment, and just in that having done live theater, you're getting ready to walk out, and then you're party or costume falls off, or like, you know, I actually was in a production when I was on stage, crouched down, and my pants ripped from waistline to cuff, like completely down.
That happened to me too. I bent over and split the back of my pants, and we used gaffer's tape and made it a joke. But in this case, you know, there wasn't gaffer's tape.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that was a really tough moment for you, and I felt so much for you guys. And were you at that point, like, you just had to go, right? Like, the show must go on.
Show must go on.
I wasn't gonna go out there. I think Moto and everybody would tell you I really did not want to go out there.
No, you were trying to press it back into shape, but you can't do that without bottom support. So eventually there's a timer set for disqualification. Yeah. So I just said, look, I grabbed him close and told him some stuff. And basically we just had to put it on his head and make do with what we had and got out there and rock it down to the end.
That's right.
And you did, Paras. And I can't tell you, not only did I feel for you in that moment, but I also, as a performer, was so proud of you that you just went out there and did it. And and even though I didn't know that until you just told us, I can only imagine if it was me, I would have been like, no, I can't do this. Like, why? And the fact that you just, put it on and went out there and gave it your 100% was, I think, admirable.
Thank you.
Well, I felt like, and we can maybe go more into this in a minute, but I thought both of your words about the episode and about building and about your experience really spoke to that bravery you have and how proud you are of the work that you put into things. I mean,
absolutely. So
yeah, that's just, and it really goes back to my daughter and the impact that she's had on me. Is just, I do, everything I do, I think about what are the kids going to think, what are the kids going to learn from me doing something? And, for that one in particular, I really had to just take all the love that all my castmates were giving me at that time and just get it, just take a deep breath, use the model face and do it. And it was really about, at least it was, I guess I'd have to say that I'm really thankful. It's really super nice of the Lego Master Fox people to include that part in there in the back at the end, and because that's what I really cherish is there's bad situations that come up all the time. You try your best, especially in a high stress situation just like that one with that clock and everything else going on.
Yeah.
Previous build, all that. But what are you going to learn from it? And so I was really glad that they included those words at the end.
Yeah, and I was very thankful that they edited it in the play well, go for it, everybody, and the final. My final thoughts about failure as a lesson.
Yeah,
was important to me. So they managed to cut that together and abridge it really well.
I was moved by that.
So we are gonna. We are going to move. I'll move along to the next one. But I will say, I noticed, Moto and Paras, that when it came to the snake, you went with the good old tried and true repeatable shapes that you can build. I really do think like that's the secret of Lego Masters. It's like repeatable shapes that you can like make.
Yeah, modular competition is a huge strategy when you plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had just used that sort of structure in the previous build. Well, geez, why not try and reuse it again if you're trying to get something off?
Yeah, that was the poll. I think he's talking about the chunky ball sockets for each body part going around and up was all reused as well.
That's great.
I just out of curiosity, so it looked like to me, how did you situate the kind of brick built structure into that mesh? Were you using ball sockets to snap it into place? Like what failed?
Yeah. Oh, what failed? No, the Technic part didn't fail.
No, it was the system.
The post came down, and then I laterally pinned Technic into the side, and then from there started to brick belt and shape it down. Mm-hmm. And there were 2 ball socket joints on the side that I left in, but they're an odd number, so that was where the structure got weak, and that's where the split occurred and then propagated down and out.
Yeah, because I had a theory that there were some ball sockets that might have failed because I've had that.
Yeah, the ball socket didn't fail. It was the odd number to even number transition between the math that split.
Absolutely.
So it was math's fault. I knew it.
Oh well.
All right. All right. So next up was Caleb and Jacob's Baker's Crown.
Man, yeah. I'm surprised that kid is still as tall as he is.
I know. After I saw that, I was like, you are going to be 5 inches shorter than you were when this whole thing started. So, so Blair, what were your thoughts on this one?
I mean, other than it making them even less than identical twins by squishing one of them, I was just blown away by the fact that he could even keep that on. Knowing just how heavy even, a lightweight wearable Lego piece can be, I was I was feeling anxiety seeing that thing sitting on the table. But I love the play feature that they have in it with the wobbling things on top. I mean, it had a very Alice in Wonderland Tea Party kind of chaos going to it. I thought it was really comical and cute and fantastically enormous. I mean, that was just flabbergastingly big.
If I had one quibble with it, is that, and this was something that I've talked about before, is that when you are on a show like this, they show you giving all your big ideas at the beginning where you're like, and it's going to have this and the things on it and things are going to be flying off and it's going to go crazy and it's going to be the most amazing thing you've ever seen. And then you're really faced up with the time and what you can actually accomplish. And I think for Tim and Zack in the explosion challenge, I feel like that really came back to bite them in that they gave too much of it away at the beginning, and then when it didn't work, it was and if I hadn't known, I wouldn't have known, right? I would have thought it was fine. So I when they said this was supposed to be a baker's hat, I was really expecting to see some good sculpture of the roundness of because that's the big thing, right? It's got that puffy thing on the top. And when that didn't materialize, I was a little disappointed, but I do again know what it's like to say it's going to be all this and then it doesn't end up being all this.
It kind of looked more like a big wedding cake, but yeah.
Or a table, when you say the tea party thing. I agree.
Well, with an actuating mechanism that fooled some folks into thinking it was breaking when it wasn't. That was
that was.
These guys have noticed a pattern of they bring an unexpected twist into every build that they do. That's sort of outside the normal thinking of what you would do.
Yeah,
and that was pretty brilliant.
I love the manual function. I think obviously there's a great encouragement, I think, in Lego Masters to do mechanized things, like make the motor work and make it remotely controlled. But I love that this was manual and they could start and stop it when they wanted to. And it had the sense that the whole thing was going to go over, but it didn't. So there was this, excitement, I thought, every time.
So, yeah, and the desserts were just great. I like the whole little dessert tray thing was genius. All right, so next up was Susan and Jen, Grandma's famous hat, based on a sort of Victorian picture of Susan's grandmother. Was it Susan's grandmother or Jen's grandmother? Apologies if I got that wrong. Well, one of them was right. I have a 50-50% chance that one of them was correct. I really, while I didn't necessarily get Victorian feather hat off of this was a little more like Las Vegas, kind of showgirl thing. It was beautiful. But I think, they pulled the color gray, which I know is difficult to work with, but I felt that the pink so much outshone the gray that I didn't get gray as that being the choice color. If I looked at this, I'd go, oh, they got pink, right? I wouldn't necessarily think that they got the gray.
We needed more Star Wars.
I do think they sold the gray a little bit by having the actual hat portion of it being gray instead of pink.
Sure.
So that helped.
Yeah.
And the whole back of it is gray. There's no pink to cover the back of, the
Yeah, it was definitely mostly gray. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that was interesting, though, because they got dinged on the back of it being gray.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they got dinged because there was no detail on the back.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Mark of Mark and Boone said that he felt that he would have liked to have seen them do it like with shades of gray, like gray, dark gray, black and white, like, and maybe like really lean into the whole black and white, gray thing.
Yeah. Like the photograph.
Yeah. But it was still a beautiful creation. And I loved the movement that it had when she was walking. It had that like bouncy, and it wasn't the movement like you're terrified it's going to fall off, but it was like a nice,
flexible.
Yeah, flexible.
So this is why I thought it was one of the strongest ones of the bunch, because it had intentional movement. And when I was looking at this challenge, I'm like, all right, everyone wants to make their hat as light as possible, because if you have all this weight trying to be distributed everywhere, you lean your head back, it all goes over. So why is everyone stacking and like having these dense amount of bricks? And you're like, whoa. But
I had the same question.
It had the movement of it, and it looked very light, and it still met all the requirements that were a part of the show. The accessories worked with it. And, this is one of those that really exemplified the fashion runway element of it, where you're walking down and the whole thing's just bobbing. You're like, that clearly looks like it could be on a runway, as if a fashion designer had to make something out of Lego that fit the bill perfectly. So I thought that was one of the best ones of the show.
Yeah.
They also they had a very late change in plans, so the amount of time they had remaining to pull that thing off was unbelievable. The pace that they pulled those feathers together was mind blowing. Their hands were on fire.
Can you talk about their earlier plan?
I don't recall what it was. It's been
Aubrey
so long.
says in the chat it was originally supposed to be a flamenco, but then they had to redirect.
That's right.
Right. So. But I do know it was something like only 4 or 3 hours that they put the majority of that thing together.
Oh, I remember
that's mind-blowing speed.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of birds, 5 for 5. The next build, Brian and Lauren's Phoenix hat. And I gotta say, I love their accessory with the big like Eye of Sauron necklace.
Yeah,
I'm like 100% into that. It's so
Whenever
good.
they can work a Lord of the Rings into it without saying it's Lord of the Rings, they're going to do it.
Are they big Lord of the Rings?
Brian's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Yeah.
I love it. I have to say, they are so charming. And I've been like, their Instagram posts of them going to Legoland, and then like a picture of them as kids going to Legoland together. And I was like, it was very sweet. But so what are your thoughts about this, Cara, being a Lego fashionista type yourself? What did you think of this one?
Oh, I thought it was delightful.
Really well.
Honestly, if it had been a real hat, I would have wanted more asymmetry.
Mm-hmm.
But having to actually wear this weight on your head, you're absolutely right. You have to take the function into account. And it was a beautiful build. The use of color was great.
And
I used the translucent bricks too to give it the fire.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think of everybody, I think took the prize for working the runway. Like she was like born to that. And I love that later they were asking her about it, and she was like, I used my musical theater background. I was like, yes, girl, you used that musical theater background.
It worked.
Yeah, Flynn, you would have loved it even better. She did this one pose where she struck it and she did this wink and then turned around. It was like, oh Lord.
That's awesome. So
I thought the ribbon was the standout for me. The way they carried the ribbon on the back of the brim.
Oh, the draping.
Really, I think added a lot more sort of fabric or clothing quality to it and took it away from sculpture for me.
Nice. All right. Let's see. So next up, after Brian and Lauren, we have. We've got Randall and Sarita's the Sunday Best hat. So living in New Orleans, I've seen some Sunday Best hats. Let me tell you, they are epic. And colorful. I've seen some amazing hats. So I'm curious, what are people's takes on this one, Holly?
I knew you were going to call on me for this one. Oh. I've seen some Sunday best hats, and I kind of struggled to find that inspiration in this hat. I think, God, I want to say something nice, but I sort of feel like had the couple of ones not had some technical structural trouble, I think there's no doubt they might have been in the bottom. Like definitely in the bottom, like design wise for me, I just I liked the concept and I was really sort of like excited to see how that concept was going to play out. Cause I thought it was a really good idea. I was like, oh, that's really brilliant. Take a Sunday best hat and make it like a runway style. And they put some style into it, but it just it lost that flashiness that I was expecting from where they were pulling all that inspiration. It just didn't come through.
Too blocky.
Yeah, which blocky is fine. Like you can work blocky into a style, but it didn't feel stylized to me so much.
Well, I felt like they set themselves a very difficult challenge in combining two very different themes of the Sunday best theme with the Egyptian sort of pharaoh's crown. And I can see where they went for the shapes of the pharaoh's crown, but I think the iconic shapes of those two were very difficult.
They contradict each other, don't they? Like one is very symmetrical and very like geometric, and then the other is very like organic. And
that's my biggest thing is that when I think of church lady hats, I think of like feathers and swirlies and very elaborate. And this was a little more almost conservative, but I gotta say, I love the crown, the crown in the middle. It was a great little build. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, and I liked the colors. It was a good color choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I also want to say they did glasses, and Paras and I did glasses, but they actually put lenses in their glasses. They actually put window elements in there.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah, they were the only ones who did it. Really good touch.
All right, so Zack and Wayne's archery hat. Now, this is one of those ones that I feel like there's another one that we'll get to later that I feel like this is. I just remember being on the floor, and we've talked about this before, and there's always those one or two models that you look across the room and you're like, okay, all right, like they've so nailed it. And I wonder, Moto and Paras, what are your I know it's hard always, to look around.
No, they were right across from us.
No, they were fine. Yeah.
So did you have that feeling when you saw what they were coming up with? Was it just like, okay, I see where this is going, or what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are good. Right from the first build, And correct me if I'm wrong, Moto. I think they were again pretty well done relatively quickly.
No, it was in bursts. So they were doing brick bending. So they would the whole thing was 1 by 2 bricks.
I remember they were basically particular about the different stages that they were going through.
Yeah, so it was like all of a sudden there was like this amazing brick bent thing on top of the sculpture like that, and then it was stopped and they look at it.
Yeah, they spent
all of a sudden it was like and there'd be another piece up. It was like
whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, I was worried about them at first because I saw the brick bending and I thought this is an amazing bold technique, but how are you going to resolve this with the rest of the hat?
Yeah.
And
that's why they paused. And then every time they paused, all of a sudden a new section would go and then zip and zip. And then all of a sudden it was like, there was this I explained it to them. It looked like a bicycle helmet if you removed all the foam.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was super lightweight, light as a feather, and just perfectly balanced, and that was just choice.
Yeah,
it was amazing to watch that thing just go bang, 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 and all of a sudden it was together.
I think a lot of the hats, including ours, had a lot of bricks and plates and getting a lot of volume in there to get the shaping that you wanted. These guys really took a step back and were very methodical, very particular about, how does it look this way and that way. And I think they did a fantastic job with it.
It was extremely efficient and really well done.
Yeah, and I have to say the brick bending techniques really inspired me. to a very large degree, and I've been really implementing it and trying it in a number of builds that I've been working on. I've just started to learn as much as I could about some of those techniques. So
now, one thing I've noticed,
great match for the color green too.
Yeah, really great.
It's very colorful. Like, it's bold primaries, but it doesn't feel chaotic to me.
No, and I love the trees and everything on it. But I have to say, I've noticed that they have leaned very heavily into this red and blue theme in every build they've done so far. And I'm curious if they're going to get to a point where the judges are like, okay, we've seen the red and blue. Can you give us something different? And I'm not saying that I want to see that necessarily, but I know that in past seasons and in the other versions of it I've seen, there's been that thing where they're like, hey, you've done this enough. Like, let's see what else, like how else you can incorporate that. But it's a beautiful build. I was just in awe of it. And they walked down the runway without holding it. Like, he just like that automatically, that was like extra points on top of, that was just, I thought, really, really expertly done. And he's back.
I love the shape of it too. Like, it was, they started off with that like feather in a cap concept, but then it became like forestmen and a plague doctor and Mardi Gras, like all happening at the same time. It was so dynamic, just a very unique approach to that design.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to take a second for an aside to say, as we're going through this, I know from being on the show, and also I just have to imagine it was the same somewhat this season, how good what good builders and how talented everyone is, and that anyone can have a rough episode, and that if we're saying that this is a part of a build that we found more challenging or not into, I in no way think that reflects on the builder being a less quality builder. And
and you see that
really just respect and value.
Yeah, you see that in the people who are winning the challenges. It's scattershot between a lot of different teams. It's not consistently one team or two teams taking the top every time. And that's because the field of talent is so narrow at the top that it just depends on the challenge or timing, or one little thing is bumping people up and down that chain very close as they continue on. So hats off to the cast. They're killing it.
Absolutely. I think the casting was fantastic in this, for sure. I don't remember, somebody said it, I'd like to think that if ours stayed together, we might have gone a little bit farther, and whatnot.
Your guys, I mean, it really is unfortunate that there was a structural problem, because I have no doubt that you would have stayed out of the bottom if it had stayed together, because style, and I'm actually kind of disappointed the way. Now, again, this may just be the criteria. I don't know if like it falling apart is just an immediate like elimination, basically. But I thought it was unfortunate that the bottom two were kind of seemed automatically the ones that had structural problems.
If you remember back to the structure challenge, though, it was also based on a premise of if you didn't make it above an 8, you were in the bottom. And
I don't like it, because those were by far not. Like, those were actually really good builds, and they were very stylistic. And there were a couple of others that really struggled to like get their concept across and weren't particularly.
Yeah, but the objective was to, walk down the runway, hold it for 5 seconds, and return. That's the primary objective. And when it splits right before you hit the runway, you got to understand that was pretty much it.
Yeah. So speaking of structural challenges, they're
on fire today. Really, it's impressive.
Excuse me, I need a neck brace because I'm getting whiplash.
So next up was Richard and Dave, who have turned out consistently incredible builds, and this one was no exception. Like, it was stunning. I mean, I was just completely taken by it when I first saw it in the commercials, because that was one of the ones they showed. But also, I think by far the most heartbreaking moment of any Lego Masters episode to date. Like I just, again, like I felt for you in that moment. Like I felt for him in that moment so hard. Like that was like the pants ripping, you know, like it was like right there. And then especially
trying to save it.
Yeah, and especially like he almost saved it, and then like it was like
he almost took out Will. It was that close.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Good TV.
Can you imagine if
like
Will Arnett had a bunch of stitches on his forehead for the rest of the season?
Like
Same with
one
I
way
think
to lose
Amy. Amy almost caught a chunk of it too if it had gone.
Yeah, and like when you take out the judges, you're pretty much sure to not win.
Yeah.
Well, did he also take a little chunk out of his forehead? It looked
He did.
like
He had cuts, and you're going to see some makeup being used on Mark and him as well, because a lot of people cut their heads on the plastic.
Oh,
I was going to say, like, did they not provide any kind of?
I thought I saw.
Yeah, you were offered up a choice of, what was it, 2 different things that you could have worn underneath. But some people, they opted for the tighter fit in order to get the friction. So, yeah.
All right. So this, I thought this build was so beautiful. I really, really did. And I heard it was, okay, I found it very interesting that when they got to the judging, that they said something to them about lack of detail. I thought that was so weird, because I'm looking at a picture of it right now and it is full of detail. Like it had all the colors, the windshields on it. And it felt like a bit of a cop out in editing, if I'm being honest. It was like, I akined it to that moment that we had with our dang it, the amusement park build, where they had nothing but nice things to say about it, and then they included the one like negative comment that, and that's all they talked about. I felt like there was probably a lot more positive, but because they had that break and because it was going to be in the bottom 2, they just kind of glossed over all the cool things about it.
Yeah, because the detail was even on the back, right? Wasn't that?
It was very detailed, but it was also supposed to be a Pride celebration hat with the rainbow integrated into it very subtly, but it might have been too subtle.
Well,
yeah, didn't see that.
They didn't talk about it. Oh, they talked about
their theme.
No,
Carnival, right?
Carnival was the theme, to my understanding.
But also, if you look closely, the Pride colors were woven into the belt.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue.
But it wasn't as prominent, probably, as the judges would have liked, because that was part of their discussion points, but that was cut in editing.
Yeah.
So once again, you're talking about the expectations and meeting the judges' expectations of telling too much, perhaps. So.
Well, yeah, it was still a really beautiful build, and just
well, it was incredible because it was so tall. When he started walking out, the top of it was literally above the screen riser that was supposed to block the judge's view.
Yeah,
they could see it coming.
Oh my goodness!
That thing was epic, man.
Yeah, they mentioned.
I had no problems losing to that belt. That belt was
coming.
Spectacular. Yeah,
it was nerve-wracking watching them build it.
Yeah.
I was like, "There's no way." Like it actually held up better than I expected, because when they were making those feathers, I was like, I don't see how they. Yeah, you just know that the weight and everything is
no
so problematic.
Yeah, well, they learned the lesson. They did bite off a bit more on this one. So they're very, coming in confident and hot.
Sorry.
So, go ahead.
Oh no, not at all. It's easy for me to sit here and look back and say, what if they? But I was just imagining, what if they had started with the cap and started with a little internal structure of the feather and trying it on again and again, built a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, if they could have achieved something that would have stayed up more. Because it seemed like you can't really know how that's going to balance until it's all together. And by then it was really big.
Well, and
the solution, I think, would have been, once the feathers were done, instead of putting them sideways and then up, you should have started with a much lower degree angle from the bottom feathers and then weighted them more to get the center of gravity down toward the brim. But the calculations that go into that with the time they had, that would have been really tough.
Now, could you imagine if they had combined like oh gosh, I just spaced on her name. Jen. What's Jen's partner's name?
Yes, Susan and Jen's tech.
Thank you.
Tech
If
mix,
Jen and
yeah.
Susan's technique of kind of the flexible feathers, if they had incorporated some of that into, it would have been amazing.
Which is funny because weren't they going for this sort of style and then they had to compromise? So it's like, you know, you could have learned.
Yeah, this build I think could have used more time as well.
Yeah.
Well, they could always use more time.
Of course.
They intentionally time everything and then subtract an hour and make us sweat.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying that everything that has happened so far is like beyond incredible, and the amount of time that everyone's had, it's just mind blowing. Yeah.
So next up, we've got Maria and Philip, and first of all, I have to confess that I have like total like builder's crush on them. They are the sweetest and most adorable. Oh God, I love them so much. They every time I see them, I'm delighted, and they also make really great stuff. And I thought this was so fun and so whimsical, and had a very like small world quality to it. Like it had like a very Disney theme parky quality to it, and I loved it. And lights. Richard was very excited.
Yep, the integrated lights in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
Yeah,
and the hat, the meta hat, right?
The hat on
wizard's hat on top of the hat.
yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
I didn't realize lights could be a part of these creations, and I would have loved to have seen even more of that, like in the center of the sun. And there's a lot of potential there for more of that. It's just 4 at the very top right there of the hat.
6.
We learned on season 1. Well, we learned, and I think Manny and who was it?
Mel and Jermaine.
Mel and Jermaine did the Sphinx with the lights in the eyes, and you could really see that. But the studio lights were so bright that, like in our storybook, not storybook, the movie matchup, we had a bunch. Like we had 6 or 8 of those little Lego light bricks inside the chest that opened up, and it had jewels in it. You couldn't see them at all.
You couldn't see it at all. And also, too, the way that those strands of lights work, there's only 2 lights on each strand.
Right.
So you only have, and you also, so that meant they had to embed also a couple of battery boxes in there. So I get why they didn't do a bunch. Like, yes, I would have liked to have seen more too, but I totally get why they didn't.
So these are power function lights then, I assume.
Yep.
Yes.
Is it powered up?
Yeah, they were the powered up lights. They were pretty strong.
Yeah. So, and again, just delightful. I love the use of like the basic shapes, like the circles, the triangles, like all of the little spikes. It had lots of sort of like motion feeling to it. I really
great color too. Great color.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yellow on the back.
Yeah, and their color was yellow. And to walk a runway, in kind of the money's in the banana stand style is pretty rough.
I did. For her, that was definitely. I was like, oh, all yellow outfit. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, it took me back to Adventure Time. I almost expected, the lemon squeeze twins to make an appearance, but no, they pulled it off fabulously.
So there was, let me see. So one of the things that we talked about in this podcast we did the other night is that the build didn't have to be all the one color, but the color had to be the star. Like whatever color that you picked, it had to be. And even though theirs used a lot of white and blue, you could still tell that yellow was the star of that build. Like that was the color. All right. So Michelle and Natalie, I just gotta say, yes, like 100%. I think this build embraced the challenge as an entire whole altogether. Like it is everything that this challenge was about was in this particular build. Just even from their very first concepting of it, I could tell they were going for something very, very, like they were making a hat.
Yeah, that's right.
I was sold when I saw the veil in the front.
Oh.
And the asymmetry, I knew that was going to get bonus points. And this one is another case where if you gave a fashion designer the objective to do a Lego themed thing, that is exactly what it would look like also. It looks
Exactly.
I'll also say, I mean, that their hat, in my opinion, actually looked even better in person.
Yeah, it did. It did.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, Paras and I were fortunate enough to have the beauty shots done at the same time theirs was in the studio. So to sit there and watch it under the lighting and in detail, oh Lord! I was like, get your speech ready.
I thought it was tactically very smart and technically very sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
Tactically because, or technically because they were able to achieve a balance, not only while being asymmetrical, but also while having movement.
Mm-hmm.
And tactically because they saw early on that the movement was too much and too all over the place, and they simplified it and made it more centralized so it wasn't, it could have easily, that early movement would have knocked it right off their head, I thought.
Well, and I love the counterbalance they provided on the short side to keep that. I mean, it was just a technical achievement as well.
And it's not just one thing. I mean, you can look at just the veil technique for NPU and be blown away, but then they added the capes for motion, the circular motion, a lot of translucent pieces to catch the light as it spun. You then had the feathering and the white components added onto that didn't fall off. They were completely firmly on there. I mean, just mind-blowingly great.
So, Brian, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it looks exactly like as if a fashion designer designed this, and the asymmetry, it's light. It looks like an overall light build, and especially when you have that jutting out all over to that side. If that's too heavy, game over. And it's very thin, and it works with everything that it is. And it's a shame that these models come apart in their entirety when they're done, because some of these I think should be on display. That one looks like it could go into the masterpiece gallery or just somewhere existing outside of it, because that is a work of art in itself.
Yep.
I agree. She did say it was heavy, by the way.
Well, it doesn't look as heavy as the baker's hat. That looks like solid brick,
Yeah.
Well, it's also it's a singular model. I don't know that I've ever seen anything else like it. Right. I haven't seen anybody. I've seen some wearables, but to that degree where it's that I don't know, kind of like the typewriter. If you step back and just look at it, it looks like a typewriter. If you just step back and look at that, it's not a Lego piece, it's a hat.
It is very convincing, and I think it's exactly what the challenge was intended to be. Yes. I think that's why Amy was saying in the beginning, we don't want to see a mock on your head. We want to see fashion. We want to see fashion made out of Lego. So
that exemplifies fashion.
Yeah, and I think that kind of made it easier to judge, because you really only had a couple that really hit that note just right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I mean, Amy did say she is that even made out of Lego? As Michelle was walking down the runway.
So cool.
All right, friends, we've reached the time of the show where we're going to talk about the end. We are going to talk about the winners and the elimination. So
before you do that, sorry to interrupt. I just want to say I'm going to have to go because we have a date.
Yes, we do.
So I will see you too soon. And it was great to see all the rest of you. And of course, everyone in the chat. Bye.
See you, Cara.
Bye, Cara.
Bye.
Yes. So if you don't want spoilers and you haven't seen the episode, if we haven't spoiled it enough for you up to this point, then it was Well, I mean, we've talked about all the builds at this point, so you can watch it in reruns. So we had the how did we do this last time, Brian? You mentioned it to me, and
the winner, then the loser.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's not use the word loser. The elimination.
Those guys were losers. They lost.
The top two in this one were, not surprisingly, Zack and Wayne. And why now all of a sudden I'm having a complete brain.
Michelle.
Thank you. Sorry.
Lots of names.
Trying to keep them all straight.
I just learned Mark and Ben.
I do too. Wow, it's great.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
I love you. Hey, Shy Time is My Time is here. Good to see you. So, and the eventual take home of the crown for the evening is Natalie and Michelle.
Yeah.
Amazing. And we just kind of went all over it, but yes, like well deserved.
I was so excited. If you look at me on the stands, I was like going nuts when they won.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So yeah, they did a great job. I hope that, like Brian says, I hope that this is a build that they actually hung on to, because I know sometimes they hang on to a couple of them. I mean, probably not, but.
Well, I'm going to go back to my Lego Masters fantasy right now and say that as Moto and Paras know, during the time that they take the beauty shots, they take a lot of beauty shots.
Yes, they do.
They're from above, they're on a crane, they're close up, they're far away. So if Lego Masters, if you're listening and you want to reach out more to the AFOL community, put those things up there and do a show all about how amazing all these details are.
Yes.
And show us all of those details.
Well, the Australian version also does super cuts of all these, longer glory shots on YouTube. That would not be a bad idea. Take the winner and just take the footage and just stitch it into an amazing highlight for the week would be
Well, something that Brian and I discussed on Wednesday's show when we he and I broke down the Make and Shake episode was that what I found very frustrating, and I know this is maybe just harping on the same thing, we want to see more of the builds, but if you're gonna say we held it together using ball joints, I want to see how you held it together using ball joints. I don't want to not see it. Like if I'm holding it together with a T structure, let me see the T structure. Like just the drawing of it is not sufficient. Like that's that was disappointing.
Yeah, I know that Philip and Maria made a scale model of that ball joint structure that was inside, but you have to find their social media, you have to find the account, you have to search for the video, you have to find it, you have to find the right timestamp where they're going through it. Yeah, it's not as easy or transparent as maybe some people would like.
Yeah, I wish they had like a QR code at the end of every episode that's like, and for more footage, behind the scenes footage, whatever, Yeah.
Time is money, though.
It really does more justice to the teams and the builds in that regard. And I mean, it is a very different format, but at the same time, I think everyone's correct. Like, there's no reason not to, in a way, like, because you could say that, well, it's not profitable, but like the work's been done and it's only going to promote the show even more and give fans more to love, like,
right.
And a lot of us in this community are personally invested in watching the show more than we would otherwise because our friends are on the show and like,
that's true.
We are, we're part of
editors are not cheap. I know one.
Right.
They have a high bill rate. The good ones,
but they've done the work, like the documentation there, and like they have the avenue to get the information out there without a lot of extra work to be done.
I don't know about that. It is extra work. It is like there's a lot left on the cutting room floor for them to pull from, but it's still more editing. They still kind of have to take those chunks and make it like it's more work. Like there's no illusion that it's not more work and that it's more money, time and money, but I think it's worth it. It's definitely good. It's more content to consume.
Like, I think there's enough to honestly, like I said before, make some sort of a video release. Like if there were, a box set of the seasons at some point and it had all this extra content, like I think people would want that. Especially
Flynn's like, absolutely not. No.
I do not give my permission.
Since we have this unique opportunity here, I'm very curious. Paras, is there something about your hat model or any of your models on the show that you would want us to know that we don't know yet that like went to the cutting room floor?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Well, geez, how much time do we have now?
I'm building all day.
Right. No, I mean, I could certainly do that. I do think just along the lines that we're talking about now, if they created a reality show. You can see that experience coming through, and if they, I just think in the future, if they brought in some more people from the Lego community to be able to stress exactly what we're talking about, it's a slightly different audience to go after in that way. I think it'd be a really good thing. So, to answer your question, the sword getting knocked off of our elf girl, I think, much more could have been made out of that. I think that would have been super interesting. I can go on and on for sure.
It's fascinating. As a fan, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably could pull it off, but now with the COVID protocols we had in place with an extra production team, it would have been too much. But I think if it was a non-COVID situation, they might have been able to wrap a 0.5 production team around it and maybe done some more of that. But, unless you're doing it in the moment, it's very tough to figure out the funding, I think. But now that we're going post-COVID, maybe they'll listen and look forward to maybe a season 3 if it gets greenlit.
I did appreciate the vignette that just came out in the last couple of days about some of the behind the scenes that we went through and all that stuff. That I like that. I like that as a supplement to the initial production of on Tuesday night, 1 hour episode to come out with these other shorts and stuff. But,
Well, we will definitely be having a whole separate episode where we get together with a bunch of the Lego Masters past and present and talk about stuff that didn't make it to the show. Although I think our season at this point is a little freer to talk about that than yours is, but I'm sure there'll still be plenty to talk about. So this brings us to the elimination round of this particular episode, and I gotta say now, like, having been through this with Dawn, I want to thank both of you for wanting to be present for this episode and to talk about it, because I know from experience that it was tough. And Richard and I were filming at that time. We were filming like recaps of each episode after it happened and putting them on our YouTube. That was kind of our first way of doing it. And when we got to our elimination episode, I couldn't go through with it. Like, I couldn't do it without being emotional. Like, I couldn't do it without wanting to spend the entire time defending the work.
I gotta say, a little bit, if we had done a video breaking down that episode, I would have gone into detail saying, but you missed this, and our point was this, and I really was proud of this, and we didn't see this.
Yeah, that is true. I think we were very fortunate in that our elimination was pretty binary. It wasn't like...
Yeah, it's true.
It wasn't like it was a surprise or there was a lot of human judgment to be passed. I mean, realistically, the thing disintegrated before it hit the runway. Whereas,
objective.
There was.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was a very objective loss, and it was pretty much, a certain loss. And so there was also time to reflect on that and to, talk to the cast before the actual elimination, things of that nature. So, if you're going to go out, I'd have to say, completely blowing a mock apart is probably the best way to go. It's a very certain, it's a very not deliberate. It's a very certain outcome, so that you can't really debate of, well, if I made this, well, you could say maybe if I made it stronger, you can say that, but there wasn't time. But it's not like you can say maybe if I added one little ruby crystal more, the judges would have been swayed by my story or the aesthetics or something. I mean, there was no question that it looked good. It was just it didn't hold up.
I had the same feelings about a certain bridge.
Yeah,
that too.
No, I mean, we did go through a lot of that, especially being in the moment. I definitely went through a lot.
Yeah, you took it much harder than I did, but you had to rock the runway. So,
but, by the as we showed by the end of the show, it's like, you can't keep crying over spilled milk, right? You got to just clean it up and learn from it and keep on moving. That's the best that you can do.
And for poor Paras, I have to apologize, but having a model completely implode, is that the way to go? Is still on brand for me. he got stuck with the Moto luck,
Don commented in the chat earlier that Moto pulled a Moto so hard.
Oh yeah. I mean, what other way? I'm so sorry, dude. You had to pair up with a guy who's just known for having such.
I mean, you know, from my perspective, I'm thankful that I pulled the moto with moto involved. So I do it anyway. So,
I think it will be remembered.
Well,
it was great TV. That's the other thing. Is it just, you know, if it was some failure and it was like this boring ho-hum way to go, you know, that's one thing. I think making great TV is part of the mission of any cast member. You're there to have an audience get excited and watch something, and that was pretty spectacular. I have to say,
it would have been boring. You know what? Honestly, like if something didn't fail and crash, and I mean, I guess that's just me. I know I feel like every AFOL disagrees. They're just, it pains them to see things breaking and whatnot. But I'm like,
yeah, there's a hint of NASCAR in everybody. You want to watch the race.
It's not just that. It's like, to me, like, I'm watching it for the really real world of Lego. Like that's what happens.
Okay, well, yeah. Sure. No. I mean, I get that. But I also, it's that, like, yeah, it's that there, because how else do you add drama into it? Because obviously it's not going to be with people sniping at each other, because that's not the kind of people we are.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
Well, the episode, or not the episode, the challenge was designed to do exactly that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like they wouldn't have made it a hold it and maybe it's going to fall unless they wanted to see some of them fall.
Unless there's a chance it's going to fall and break. Yeah. Like, that's what happened.
One last thought. You have to appreciate the irony also of having something that was incredibly structurally well engineered and looked like garbage to turn around and create something absolutely gorgeous that couldn't hold together. It's like you can't find that balance in the force. It's like we went one way and then we went the other.
Hard.
So.
It's a learning percentage.
I gotta ask you guys: Did you get a chance to try it on before you actually went out onto the thing?
Yeah, we tried it on.
Yeah, tried it on, walked with it. You know, we felt pretty confident with it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, you know, just like in the tower build, we over-engineered it a bit because, you know, as engineers, we really wanted to succeed in that way. I mean, as Moto told me once, you know, woulda, shoulda, coulda. You can always go back and say we should have done that or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you make the best decisions you can in the environment that you have and in the time and the cameras and the light and the situation. And I have to say, you know, this past week has been actually quite amazing. I was actually dreading it. But with all the interviews, and I've had a lot of people reach out this week, seriously just saying, you know, they were crying after the episode, how much it meant to them, just the, I guess, just the humanness of it, of the moment.
Yes.
And that really helps me a lot, for sure. Yeah, you know, we keep on moving, you know?
Well, yeah, the center of gravity was pretty sketch, but I think
well, you were
fitting it super tight in his head might have done the trick, but you never know. We'll never know.
Well, I thought you were both very gracious and thoughtful with your exit, and that is, I mean, that says a lot about you both, I think.
I think it's super keen because, you know, when you say you're kind of hoping for that NASCAR moment, Holly, like with NASCAR, you don't really.
No, I said that.
You don't really get that that kind of circling back around with NASCAR. You don't say like, and that's, folks, why we don't drive 200 miles per hour on the highway. But in this case, you know, saying don't cry over spilled mocks, right? Like it's so important. And as an educator, Paras, like it's something I tell my kids in my programs all the time. And I'm sure Flynn's gone through it too. Like their stuff breaks right there in front of you because of a structural issue. And you say, but that's the best part about Lego, you know, is you can put it back together and you can do it again, even better than the first time. Mm-hmm. In this instance, there's no doing it again. But at the same time, you were able to spread that message far and wide. And that intrinsic value of seeing just how impermanent Lego is, you know, to so many builders.
You know, if it continues, I would say this, you know, if you're a contestant on the show, the percentages of losing are very high compared to the percentage of winning. There's just 12 teams. There's going to be that one that wins. So be thoughtful and understand that you're probably going to lose. And it's not that you're going to lose. It's how you lose. So if it fell apart and you lose, there's a core message and a lesson in there that you can deliver. If it was going out a different way, then there's another lesson. I think that's one of the things is there's so many life lessons that's associated with the philosophy of Lego, and the ability of rising to a challenge or playing well with the community, that any team should be prepared to uplift others as they exit. I don't think that's
exactly what I was going to say. Like, that's what made it so powerful, is that in that moment, instead of being down on yourselves or beating yourselves up, you took an opportunity to lift everyone else up instead. Say, like, this is just the way. This is the way Lego works, right? And
they cut my speech short. I told everyone to kick butt and just keep on fighting and just beat that clock into the ground as we left. So
I think the message is basically learn from it and have fun, right? That's what Lego is supposed to be.
And keep fighting. Don't give up. Keep fighting that clock
and enjoy it. Enjoy the experience. That's what life's all about.
Have fun.
So I'm curious about I just overall, I wanted to kind of just go back overall and say, like, as an episode overall, how did you feel, like, as viewers and also as being in it, but like, what was your feeling of the episode overall? Was it a good episode? Should they do more like this one? Was it a miss?
Are we going in circles, or how
I'm going to start with Brian.
So a lot of the challenges have relied on something going wrong a lot of the time. And I want to see the different contestants inject more of their personality into the builds in a way, not factoring in it being destroyed. Like, I want to see an actual model that they are incredibly proud of, that is out of the box. I want the contestants to not rely on what they've known previously, like just throwing unique challenges out there and being able to demonstrate their versatility with their approaches and builds. And I just want to see it stay together. I know that something has to explode, something's got to fall apart, it's got to shake, it's got to whatever, but like, there's still so much that they can do with motion and with story and overall presentation. There's plenty of room to do that, and hopefully we're gonna start to see more articulate builds in the coming weeks.
Well, I 100% agree with you, Brian. I feel like even this next one is now like, make something that hangs in the air. It's like they are purposely trying to find a way for it to break or explode.
Doesn't that go against like the core philosophy of like Lego is like, hey, don't destroy our product, like.
Right. Well, I mean, for me, though, it was like that. I feel it was weird. It was a mixed bag. Like, I felt lucky that we didn't have so many of those challenges that were based solely on will it stay together or not stay together.
Well, our season was much more narrative oriented.
Yes, it was like ours was like story driven. Everything had to have a story all the time. 100% story. It was like a huge thing that they drilled into us over and over and over again. And it seems like they kind of steered away from that. And I wish that they would have leaned a little heavier into it, personally.
Johnny's comment is perfect. And I understand it's reality TV, it's drama, but there's a way that you can go about it in a particular way to like have integrity with what you're doing and presenting the information for reality television.
Yeah, but I will again, and that's what I think really you guys brought it up from that, right? Like, you made it like, yes, you acknowledged the failure and let's move on, like we were just talking about. And I think that's such an important way to kind of flip that script, right? To be like, yes, this happened, but let's take something positive out of it.
I think it's important for kids too, when you see the builds being celebrated. Like, when you're seeing all of this failure, which is what it is, all these builds that are being showcased on national television, and it's just failure. Like, there's so many negative emotions that can go with it, and obviously, like, rebuilding it is part of the process, as Blair said. But you're not seeing that with these contestants. If they fail, they're gone. So there needs to be more room for growth from week to week, and having challenges less designed to be focused on failure, especially the world we're living in. Let's get some positivity. Let's, build up. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an unfortunate byproduct of this being made into a competition, though, is that not everybody wins, and there are going to be failures. Somebody's going to get sent home. I do think it was important that Moto Paras brought positive, put out the positivity as they were going. Like, this has been fun, and it was worth a shot, and keep trying, and don't give up. Like, that is an important message that it's not the end of the world at that point.
Well, and also too, like, something that that I found a huge comfort was the rest of the cast there to support.
Of course.
Right? Like, if
I don't know. So this is a question for me. So, like, when they show behind the scenes where it's starting to break and the rest of the cast is just kind of looking over in horror, like, I don't know, I'm assuming no one is allowed to help or do anything, right?
They can't do anything.
I don't know if I could have helped myself. Like, I don't know that I could have just stood there watching. Like,
no, there were crew in the way, so you wouldn't have been able to help anyway. But Randall couldn't even watch. If you look closely, Randall
couldn't even watch it.
Randall turned his eyes away. He couldn't even look at
either.
it.
Yeah, that was devastating.
Something I really appreciated about the episode were the ways in which the teams rose above the technical and, oh my gosh, is it going to break part of the challenge, to incorporate line and color and design. And I want to really commend both of you on the degree to which you incorporated those things.
Yeah.
I think the spirals and color of the snake were vibrant and the face was very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you really did achieve an organic, fluid, even if it was tough to hold the pieces together, that was a really beautiful brim to the hat that had, I think, the kind of lines that you were trying to achieve that you can't achieve with a straight brick built structure.
No, it was a lovely build.
We tried our best.
I would say this. It seems odd that the episode I would go home on is my favorite to date, but it is.
Yeah.
Of all the ones, this one I think was my favorite.
I said the same thing. I was saying, like, when we were watching it, I was like, it's so unfortunate that just that part of it failing was like the eliminating factor, because it was a good build. Like, like I said, there's no way it would have been like
speaking
in the
just
bottom.
to the challenge in general, the nature of the competition, the thought that goes into it and making a wearable. I just thought it was a great challenge, a well-designed challenge overall.
Yeah. Did you guys learn something?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Build stronger.
I mean, you can't just get stronger, right? I mean, I'd say I think I learned to give myself a break, recognizing, and I would say I think I got that specifically from Moto in a conversation that we had, because you got the stress of the lights and that clock and the cameras, and we did the best we could under the situation, and I'm proud of what we did.
Well, and I think that's something that no one who hasn't been on the show will ever understand.
Sure.
Is all of that extra stuff. What it's like to do, what it's like to have cameras all over you, what it's like to have somebody sticking a microphone in your face every time something goes wrong, or reminding you that something is going wrong, right? Like, that's a lot of pressure.
Sure. And having you as a partner, I mean, that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
My favorite challenge was the one we won. I love that we made the Clockman, and it was super fun, and I'm very excited about that build. But my second favorite challenge is the one that almost sent us home and contributed, I think, in a big way to our going home on the episode we did go home on. And that is the bridge challenge. I love the intellectual challenge of it. I think I love trying to make something that's strong, beautiful. And I learned a lot of lessons that I will bring to my second bridge. But I love that whole episode, and it was a horrible experience watching it break and then standing there for the rest of the episode while they each put 57 tons and had elephants dance across them.
Yeah.
So that was horrible, but I still learned so much, and I love that challenge.
Potato chips and Scotch tape.
Yeah, you were kind of asking, like, the opinion about this episode overall. Like, it's what intrigues me about the show. It's like, what would the only kind of compelling part of why, like, AFOLs would want to participate in it, right? Is like the challenging aspect of it is what's intriguing and appealing by itself, without really any need for all the extra drama and all that extra, like you said, the sensory kind of overload that isn't really conducive to helping you through those challenges. But it is kind of like, if I can ignore all the other, like, production, like, garbage, I do appreciate, like, it was a good challenge. It was a cool challenge. I would expect that everybody probably learned something from it, very valuable, whether they were eliminated or not. Like, it's just, even somebody who's not participating in the show, it gets me thinking, like, ooh, how would I do that? And like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's the brilliance of it.
Yeah, I hope everyone, I definitely hope that people that are AFOLs and children try their hand at making something that's wearable, trying to make a hat.
Yes.
Whatever pieces you have at home.
All right, Brian, there's your cue. Show it off. Show off your wearable.
Yeah. So Brian and Brick and Nick have been doing challenges the next day after the show on Nick's Twitch channel.
Yes.
And Brian's been making some wearables. So let's see what have you got for us this week?
So we left it up to the chat to do a specific theme, and they chose aquatic, underwater themed build. So Nick built a hat, and I built 2 items to go with the hat because, there were accessories. One of them was a trident that looks like this.
That's awesome.
So you hold the trident like that. And then I made glasses/goggles that went with it, and they look like this.
Yeah,
nice.
There you go.
That's amazing.
They are wearable.
Hey, that looks good.
Shark
There you
bait.
go.
Hoo ha ha.
Yeah.
And then I'll share my screen right now. I got Nick's Instagram pulled up. I'll show you the hat that he made because it is incredible. All 3 of them together. So if you want to share that with the audience there,
Yeah.
you can see his hat has a fish on it, as well as a crab and some seaweed. So with both of ours together, if we were together in real life, that's what we had, working with just the limited bricks and I think 90 minutes. So I think it's our best one yet. So
very nice.
All right, I dig the
Very
prototype. Now it's time to build the full thing.
Yeah,
we'll see one day.
Well, so before we go, we have we've been asking people to bring minifigs, and then we never get around to showing them. So I thought a fun moment for the end of our show today would be everybody sharing their minifigs. And I've actually got mine has a little bit of a story, so I'm going to go last on mine. It's like slightly tangentially pride related story. But Holly, what have you got?
Well, I had my pen ready too, which I didn't get to show off.
I know we didn't get to do pins either. Yes, I was looking for mine and couldn't find that one. I also had a Tinkerbell pin. But,
so there's that one. And then my minifig for today, it's another custom one. I like these. We're not really custom. It's a Citizen Brick one because, they're a little less common. And there he is.
Yay, Pee-wee.
Yeah.
The playhouse.
That hairpiece. I need to find that hairpiece.
Yeah, isn't that great? It's got the little bit of a...
Is that a specific one?
They custom made it for him.
Oh, got it. Yeah. All right. Very good. Very good.
Loner Dottie, a rebel.
That's
I'm going to make his little bike now.
Moto, what have you got for us?
I have a lovely sig fig from Marlowe Bricks, local AFOL, runs a Bricklink store, and dropped off my stuff instead of mailing it.
Oh, that's so cool.
When I made a Bricklink order, he, drove it to my house and dropped it off and gave me a sig fig for free. And
now that is service.
I figured I would promote Mr. Marlowe Bricks because that's legit the way you want your Bricklink to always be run.
Awesome. All right, Brian.
I have a minifig from the new Boba Fett starship that was revealed at LegoCon. I'm going to do a video on that. But the new Boba Fett is really cool.
Ooh, very nice.
With black and then printing on the arms. He's pretty sweet. So,
and the new paint job.
Not anymore.
He's dead.
Not anymore, but yeah.
He's in the Sarlacc pit. Get him out.
Right.
Very cool.
Good thing you had that jetpack on.
I know, and I love your I got it early flex. Nicely done there, Brian. Blair.
So lots to choose from. A few of my probables ended up on my hat while I was decorating because I was like, oh, they're actually kind of rainbow colored. But for today is my custom Lavaria from Nexo Nights.
Nice.
I added the Devil Kid accessories to make her super tricked out.
Very
and
nice.
A little flame effect there.
Nice. Oh, I love this. This is going to be my new favorite once we start doing it regularly. Paras, what have you got for us today in the minifig realm?
I have a special little minifig.
There you go.
Nice.
Oh,
Watch out, it's falling.
Cool. Oh no!
Oh,
They're all taking a dive today.
This is a little keepsake that I have. It's signed by
Flashback.
all of my castmates from season 2.
that's so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore this. It's really a lot of fun, and it's staying in right here.
Well, I love the little case you've made for it with the Lego Masters logo and everything. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very cool.
Oh, and your Kelsey bracelet, nicely done. Oh, it's beautiful. Nice, Paras. Very good.
Thank you.
And you got your double clickies going on. All right, what's yours, honey?
Okay, I have this one has a little bit of a story. This is from our first big convention mock. Clicky, can you help out a little bit here?
Sure.
This is our friend Lee, and she's looking sharp in her tuxedo. And this was from our piece California Dreamin', and we had a part that was San Francisco, and she was standing on Castro Street in San Francisco.
And I will note for all of the viewers out there that Lee is an old friend of mine. And back in the day, in the 90s, she was the world's first female Elvis impersonator. And she toured with her band, Elvis Herselvis and the Straight White Males. And it was... They were amazing. And they toured all over. And they did Mardi Gras in Australia, like the big gay Mardi Gras in Australia. It was awesome.
We've known her for like 30 years.
Or more, yes. It's been a long time. So that was awesome. And then I have mine for today. So this is one of my very favorite for multiple reasons. And that is the Fawn, the series. It's one of the series minifigs. I love the little legs, like his little goat legs is so great. And the reason why this one means so much to me is Richard and I are both really into Greek mythology and all of that stuff. And when we were younger, when we were in our 20s and we were dating back in the early 90s, we got matching tattoos of a fawn, of a really cool picture that we found. And then when we built Snake Queen, we got 2 of these. And they were kind of the representations of us. And they had a magical tree that they lived in.
They were hanging out with all the animals.
They were hanging out with, one of them was feeding a deer, and the other one was dancing in the middle of a mushroom ring with all the little animals around watching it. So that's kind of, it means a lot to me, especially with it being Pride and all, because it really, like, this particular symbolism means a lot to Richard and I. And I can also promise you that these 2 representations of us will be in our eventual build that will go to the Lego house in the Masterpiece Gallery. So really excited about that. So
did we?
Hooray. What did we, what?
I put something in the private chat. I don't know if, I don't think I can say it in the
Oh, yes, there's that. And then I've seen a lot of
Moto.
Oh, well, we had our friend Dina and Gunnar, when they got married, they had this beautiful wedding, and their wedding band was She-Lo, and it was a bunch of like big bear guys, like in drag, all that did ELO covers, and it was amazing. Like, I love She-Lo. Like, it was an incredible wedding, like in Oakland, outside. And it was just like a bunch of queers jumping around and dancing to these guys in drag playing ELO covers. And it was so awesome. It was a lot of fun. But anyhow, thank you everybody so much for coming and joining us today on an epically long episode.
Stream. Yeah, thanks for bearing with us, everyone.
Thanks for sticking around. And thank you, Moto and Paras, for joining us today and talking about the episode. And again, I know it's not the easiest thing to talk about, and I am so thrilled that you were here to talk to us about it. And I hope that you felt the love and support from everybody here
and that you'll come
on your
back.
journey, and that you'll come back again.
I look forward to it.
Oh yeah, I had a blast. So yeah, I'll be here. I'm a regular.
Moto's never been here.
I don't have a
before.
choice. I'm under contract at this point.
And Moto, I love your rainbow build behind you, sort of giving you a halo of rainbows.
Yes. Oh yeah, your rainbow build is amazing. And by the way, there's still a few days left to get your rainbow build challenges up on Instagram. Over 700 entries at this point. I'm still blown away by all of that. And thank you, Brian, for coming and hanging out and giving your thoughts on LegoCon
and sharing your builds.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, as always.
Absolutely. And thank you, Blair and Holly and Cara for coming by today. Appreciate it. And so our next show will be on Wednesday. And I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm sure it will be fun, whatever it is.
It might be about Lego.
It might be about Lego. And you're building the typewriter.
I am.
See those sand green axles.
It was brave to try and attempt this while.
Yes. And I just want to remind everybody, we are we have a new 2-week challenge that's build, and it is build a micro city. Build a micro city on a 16 by 16 plate.
Like maybe a city block, or a whole city.
Or it's a whole thing. I would say just go look up micro builds online. There's tons of inspiration, tons of really cool stuff out there. Brian, I would love to see what you might do with this particular challenge. Not saying that you have to or should, but I would love to see the Brian version of a micro city. I'm just saying.
I have to get on my way to family dinner. We can talk about this at a later time.
Maybe it's Mario Micro City. Maybe it's Micro Peach's Castle.
Or
Brian.
Zelda.
Or Zelda.
We'll talk.
Oh, Brian. Okay, so everybody, thanks again so much for joining us today, sticking around. Thanks to all of everybody in the panel today. And thank you, Paras, for coming on for your very first time and probably wondering what you got yourself into, but
I've enjoyed it. Absolutely.
You did great rolling with it. All right. Thanks, everybody, so much. And we will see you on Wednesday at 10 a.m. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, wear that mask when and where you still need to.
Still good to wash your hands.
Yep. Didn't I say that? Get your vaccine where you still, when the thing. And then have a great day, everyone. Bye. Happy Pride.